Sony has revealed the next AAA PlayStation exclusive that's come to PC, and it's the very one predicted time and time again on this show, Days Gone. Word comes by way of a brief tweet from developer Ben Studio's official account, though migrating Days Gone over was expanded upon by PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan in an interview with GQ. The article describes Ryan as noting that there's, quote, a whole slate, end quote, of games en route to PC. When pressed about why Sony is suddenly amenable to putting games on PC after many, many years of being proprietary with virtually everything he makes, he says, quote, I think a few things changed. We find ourselves now in early 2021 with our development studios and the games that they make in better shape than they've ever been before. Particularly from the latter half of the PS4 cycle, our studios made some wonderful, great games. There's an opportunity to expose those great games to a wider audience and recognize the economics of game development, which are not always straightforward. The cost of making games goes up with each cycle as the caliber of the IP has improved. Also, our ease of making it available to non-console owners has grown. So it's a fairly straightforward decision for us to make, end quote. When asked what they learned about releasing Guerrilla's Horizon Zero Dawn on PC last year, he said in part, quote, in terms of straightforward success of the activity of publishing the game on PC, people like it and they bought it. We also looked at it through the lens of what the PlayStation community thought about it. There was no massive adverse reaction to it. So we will continue to take mission steps in this direction, end quote. Days Gone first came to PS4 in early 2019. The team that made it, Bend, is a Sony-owned studio best known for its sprawling Siphon Filter series, as well as Resistance Retribution on PSP and Uncharted Golden Abyss on Vita. They're working on Days Gone 2 now. There's a lot here. First of all, I was right. I mean, I told you guys Days Gone would be next. That just seemed to be the obvious choice. That was not really me.
Yeah.
It just seemed obvious. I think, by the way, people are asking what's next. God of War's next, in case you guys want to know. I'm just throwing that out there. God of War will be next.
I said that too.
Yeah, because it's got to be, right? Horizon will be teasing Forbidden West, and then God of War will inevitably tease Ragnarok, and that's great synthesis of your resources.
No, exactly.
So, Chris, what do you think of Days Gone coming to PC? But more importantly, I think some of the things Jim Ryan expanded on, that they're going to continue to do this, and they're going to do it. They have a slate, he said, of games that they're going to release on PC. And he also said something that surprised me, but I think it was a message. He says that there was no massive adverse reaction to this. And I actually agree. If you just leave Twitter and PlayStation.com and stuff like that, no one gives a shit. Why would you care? You know, if they're going to port these old games. We're talking about now, Days Gone's not as old, right, as Horizon. So I get it. But it's they wrung the water out of Days Gone a long time ago. So, Chris, talk to me about your feelings.
Yeah, no, I think it's I mean, outside of the internet, there's not going to be an adverse reaction to a lot of these things. To be quite honest, it's like everybody thinks there will be, just because there's like a big fandom around it, and any degree of change to a fandom always kind of sets people off. But the second it happens, everybody's like, I guess this is just how it is now. Whatever. You know, people don't have the time or energy to be really angry about something so menial, like, oh, more people get to play a game that I like. It's like I think at some point you realize, even if it's not conscious, that that's a dumb thing to be angry about, and you just sort of stop feeling that way, even if you did before it happened. And I think, Days Gone is the obvious choice. I think God of War is absolutely next, because it seems like a perfect opportunity to tease. I do wonder if Spider-Man will ever. I feel like Spider-Man is one that's like the most up in the air, because I feel like why wouldn't you? Just because this is a game that sells a ridiculous amount. Like even Miles Morales is like selling like crazy, and like the original Spider-Man like broke all sorts of records, and like you'd kind of wonder to yourself, like, man, we could just do that again on PC, and like what would stop you? But at the same time, Spider-Man is such a valuable IP to PlayStation that I wonder if like maybe they would be like, all right, you know what, let's make it so like people need a PS5 to play this, right? At least for a while. I think if Spider-Man ever comes to PC, it'll be the one that it'll be the game that was released on a PlayStation platform that comes to PC after the longest time.
Maybe to tease the next one, which is years away.
Maybe to tease the next one. Yeah, and
possibly so.
Yeah, but I do wonder what this slate of games is, because really I can only think of God of War and Spider-Man. So unless there's like something, because like what game would be like a big splash, really? I don't know PC. That they have many more big. I mean, Last of Us, which would be huge. Bloodborne would be big, but I think that would be a huge mistake, because they still have not even given 60 frames, which I think will come for the PS5 patch or whatever. So I think they have to do that first. I do think Bloodborne will come to PC, but Yeah, I think that's
Dark Souls Dark Souls is big on PC, isn't it? So that would be a place that you would want it. I would think
that's definitely the most likely one, and I think it's probably like I think that will be the thing that like if there is a Bloodborne 2, that'll be the way that they tease it. And it's a smart. Listen, the way that like I like the way Xbox is doing it too with like the day one launch. It's like really convenient for me, but I think the way that PlayStation is handling their approach to PC releases is genuinely really smart as a way of just like advertising their next thing. I think that's a wise way to do that because you're still getting your games out there. You're still allowing people to jump into your ecosystem without necessarily having to throw $500 down for a machine that they can't even get their hands on anyway, while also, making sure that those games drive people to your console while making sure that they are exclusive and they have allure for a long period of time. It's really smart. I think it's a good call from Sony to finally be open to this stuff.
Yeah, I think you either let the fruits of whatever you've made wither on the vine when no one's interested in them anymore, where you usually sell them, or you bring them to another market. And yeah. I think that I get it. I mean, I understand the kind of instinctive fanboyism of like, oh, we want our games on our platform. We love it. But at the same time, it's like, if you really, taking it to its logical conclusion, if you're such a fanboy, for instance, then this makes Sony more money and makes their studios more secure. So that's good. And it's a really nice teasing mechanism to get people to buy your console. I think that if people buy Horizon and they were really into it, or they buy whatever and they're really into it, God of War in the future, this is all upside because Sony has no more water to wring out of these sponges anymore. Dustin, what do you think about kind of the various possibilities?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I don't want to repeat what you guys said, but obviously there's so much potential in bringing in new sales, and anyone who doesn't like this, I'm sorry, it's a silly thing to think. And I don't think that's really our audience because we constantly are critical of Sony. So those type of fanboys are probably not listening right now.
Yeah. I don't think that they like this show very much.
Right. But yeah, I just hope, I guess my main hope is that they can be more successful right out the gate with the quality of the PC port, just because Horizon specifically had a ton of issues at launch, which they have ironed out. And, it was, well, I would say it's their first go, but technically, Kojima Productions had Decima running on PC a lot better. Again, Horizon's probably a lot more complicated of a game to run on PC than, or just on another platform to move over. But yeah, I hope that they can have a stronger foot right out the gate, making sure that the PC port of this game is good. And yeah, again, I want Bloodborne very, very badly. So that's the one I'm hoping for. But I'm excited to see all of their first party lineup. Like seeing Uncharted 4 at 4K and an unlocked frame rate sounds awesome on PC. So yeah, I would love that.
Even just like what would be amazing for these games, honestly, just the modding potential of it.
Yeah.
Because modding is actually like a huge boon to a lot of games on PC. It's like one of the main reasons so many games stay alive on PC is because people could just continually add stuff. And I think some of the best games are kind of born out of the modding scene. I think people will be like, oh man, that's a good idea that the community came out with. We should do that for the next thing. And that's happened a number of times. I think isn't Counter-Strike literally just modded Half-Life?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, that's where Raven and other studios came from too, from modding Doom and Quake. Mm-hmm. So it's cool. It's cool potential. It's like a cool little petri dish to even allow new talent to kind of come out and scoop them up too. But I was reading, PlayStation stuff that they go by PlayStation Mobile Inc. on Steam, I noticed, and I was reading their page, and I did notice that with Ryan was a little he vacillated a little bit in his comments because he says like the game sold and people liked it. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything because I remember what Dustin said is true. Like the game was in horrible shape and it didn't seem to sell very well. So, and it is weird that they had Decima running and then had a game on Decima that was running worse when 505 was really responsible for porting Death Stranding. So it's strange. And by the way, speaking of Kojima, total left turn, but did you guys see the stuff with the tease? Parent tease with Phil Spencer, and there's like a statue or something on his Kojima statue or whatever on his shelf where the Indiana Jones thing was. And
I mean, there was a Switch up there
What?
too. So is Microsoft buying Nintendo?
I agree with you, but it is. I thought that too, but then I was compelled because people brought up the Indiana Jones thing, and I was like, that's true. I mean, the Indiana Jones thing was on that shelf for a long time, and then suddenly, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they bought Kojima Productions. I do think it's a signal, though. I think it's just them saying his game is going to come to Xbox.
Probably.
Dude, Phil Spencer has cursed himself. He will never be able to be on camera without people over analyzing everything in the background, like till the end of time now.
I would love that. If I were him, though, I would love it.
Yeah, that's
like,
fun.
I would be just being like, do whatever you want. I mean, there's a Catherine poster there.
I would fuck with people. I would like, if I was Phil Spencer, I would have like I would like spray paint a Vita in Xbox colors and like put it like like in the corner somewhere and just have people like really flipping out about it on Reddit or something.
I would be all about that.
That sounds great.
Yeah. All right. We have a few questions here from the audience. Your boy Nicky the Fifth wrote in and said, hey, Chris, he eats out at Five Guys Maldonado, and Colin, he gets eaten out by Five Guys Moriarty. That's not very nice. Dustin, you're not on here.
Thank
How
God.
well will Days Gone...
Yeah, right?
Yeah, thank God, yeah. How well will Days Gone review on PC? I know Colin feels that the game never got a fair chance due to the early review code. Will you be willing to bet on an 80 plus on Metacritic now that all the bugs have been ironed out? I will say yes. I do think Days Gone will exceed 80 on Metacritic on PC because they will have figured it out. And I feel like games like that, especially, think about the Horde mode or something like, or the zombie hordes chasing you at 120 frames. I mean, I think the game has potential to be beautiful. I'll also remind you it's on Unreal 4, so it runs on a much more PC friendly engine. So they have all sorts of advantages there. Chris, what are you thinking about the score?
I don't know. I think it's hard because my first impression of Days Gone is the same one that I have today, and it's just like I just really didn't like it. So maybe when it does come out on PC, that'll be when I try it again. I think that'll be a good opportunity for me to try this game with its best foot forward, even though I think it's a solid. I don't think it's going to be less than 75. But I don't know if it's necessarily going to hit 80 because I still do feel like just the direction and the tone and the story is just all weird and not necessarily in like a Kojima kind of like, ooh, how fascinating way. It's in like kind of, I don't want to say like a Ride to Hell Retribution way because it's not that bad. But like, it's just really awkwardly paced and it's just really stitched together in a really inelegant way, and I never even made it to the horde mechanics, but maybe I will now that I can run it at like 25 million frames.
To be fair, they buried the horde stuff so far into the game. I have no idea why they did that.
Yeah, which was a mistake.
Yeah, it was because it was the most fun that I had. There are videos of people killing the hordes with no weapons, which I think is so cool. Like just running around for like hours, just drowning them, and like it's doing all sorts of stuff. By the way, I will note that the game has a 71 right now on Metacritic, which is bonkers off. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not a 71. It's not a 71. Dustin, do you think it'll exceed 8?
Yes, as long as they don't, screw up like they did Horizon. But as you said, with it being Unreal, very unlikely. So I'm saying yes.
Yeah, I think Unreal Engine is going to be a great advantage for them with this one. I always thought it was weird that they built it on Unreal Engine to begin with, but now it's an advantage later on.